In this lecture, we're going to dynamically update the enemy's health by manipulating the slider's value. First, we'll need a reference to the component. Otherwise, we won't be able to manipulate its value. Let's create the reference from the health component. At the top of the file, add a namespace called unityengine.ui. This namespace exposes the classes for working with Unity's UI system, including the slider component. In the class, define a variable for storing the reference. The name of the variable will be called slider component with the slider class as the type. Lastly, let's select the component from the awake method. Set the slider component variable to the getComponent in children slider method. The next step is to set the slider's maximum value. Believe it or not, we're not limited to setting the range of values from 0 to 1. We can change the minimum and maximum values on the slider. Unfortunately, this information is not available from the health component. The enemy controller has the information for the player's health. Let's update our variables to be accessible outside the class. Scroll to the slider component variable. Change the modifier from private to public. Next, add the non-serialized attribute. This variable shouldn't be adjustable from the Unity editor. After making those changes, open the enemy controller. Scroll to the start method. At the end of the method, let's add a conditional statement with the following condition: health component dot slider component not null. Before doing anything else, we should verify that the component was found. Inside the conditional block, let's set the health component dot slider component dot max value property to the stats dot health variable. The max value property stores the maximum possible value that can be selected on the slider. In this example, we're using the enemy's health as the maximum value. Next, let's set the health component dot slider component dot value property to the same value. The value property stores the current value on the slider. Since both values match, the width of the health bar should be 100%. These lines of code will set the initial width. Let's start decreasing the width as the enemy takes damage. Head back to the health component. Scroll to the take damage method. In this method, we're updating the health of the character after being attacked. It's the perfect place to update the slider. Before calling the defeated method, let's add a conditional statement with the following condition: slider component not null. Same as before, we're checking the object for this component. If the condition evaluates to true, we should start updating the slider. Set the slider component dot value property to the health points variable. Unlike before, we're not setting the max value property. Setting it once is more than enough. The max health will never change after it's been set. We can update the value property to start adjusting the width. Unity will handle setting the width after setting this property. Let's try testing our work. Head over to Unity. Play the game. I'm going to duel all enemies except one. After defeating all enemies, I'm going to attack the last enemy. At the center of the game, their health bar is full width. As I attack them, the bar goes down. Eventually, it'll become completely depleted, and they will be defeated. That's great. We've created the logic for the health bar. There's only one problem. The health bars shouldn't be stacked on top of one another. They should be positioned above the enemy's head. In the next lecture, let's start positioning the health bars in the correct location.